Welcome to the Keegan and Company podcast. In this podcast, I'm talking to one of my really good mates, Ali Day. Ali Day is one of the top Ironman in Australia. He's been at the top of his field for years now. He's not only one of the greatest athletes in Australia, but he's also one of the most genuine people I know. He would definitely take the shirt off his back for you. In this episode, we talked about hard work, being a good dad, and how pressure is a privilege. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think you guys are going to get a lot out of it. Enjoy, crew. Keegan and Company. It's Keegan and Company, the company you keep. That's it. That's got to be it.
I don't know what it is with like boys with concussions starting a podcast, but we're 2 from 2.
Mate, you're the second. There's a heap more coming, eh?
There's probably a bunch more coming. Joy boy, are we live? We're all into it. Right, welcome. Ali Day, what's happening, brother?
Mate, thanks for having us.
Mate, can we talk about the day that we just had?
100% we
can. Mate, you've come on board with Whatability. You've gone through the onboarding process. So you went and you got all your checks. You got your blue card, your NDIS check, your police check. You had to sit with me for an hour and do an induction.
That's the best part.
Yeah, and then we went out for a day with a participant who we won't say his name. But mate, there wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was a picture perfect day. Took a couple boards down. We got some waves. Mate, how did you enjoy it? How was it?
It was unreal. It was so if we backtrack a bit, we did with one of my major partners, Shore Partners. We did a day a few months ago in Perth. You rang me after and said, mate, did you want to get involved? These are the things you need to do. I ticked all the boxes, did all those sorts of things. It was awesome sitting down with you for an hour. I actually really enjoyed doing, getting like all the checks, doing all the modules for NDIS. I thought it was like great to do, great for me to do anyway. And because I'm amidst my like racing season at the moment. It's a busy part of the time for me.
That's
busy
another
time
thing
of
I
the year
want to
for
touch
me.
on later on. Yeah.
So I really enjoyed doing that. But yeah, to bring it back to this morning, mate, like it was cool. Like we won't mention obviously the participant's name, but he was saying to us, this is the best day ever.
He was frothing, bro.
And I said to my wife on the way home, I actually said, we've done this. We as a family do what we did this morning.
Yeah.
I've done that the last 2 weeks. I've done it pretty much my whole life, like just the simplicity of what we did this morning. So, mate, we lucked out on the day. It's pretty cool to do it with one of your closest mates, and to see the participant, just so happy, makes you feel bloody good.
The best thing for me about it was I was talking to the support worker who we were with. We were shadowing the booking. The booking is 10 till 4. We go up and pick up the participant, and then we go out for a 2-activity day. And the first activity was surfing. But I was talking to the support worker as we were on the booking, and she said the very first booking that we went on, he hated sand. We said, let's go to the beach and go for a swim. And he's like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to go, I hate the beach. I hate the sand. And then as we go out, we're in the water. You're on the back of the board with him. He's got a smile ear to ear. And then afterwards, he's like, this is the best day that I've ever had. Mate, like you talk about putting smiles on people's faces, like that's huge. Like, and he's been out with a bunch of crew. Like, I've been on the Gold Coast for the last couple of weeks, got to go out with Tom Green, got to go out with Mac Horton, D. Heslop, some like not only great athletes, but just unbelievable people. And mate, today he was like, this is the best day. He's like, I don't want to play Xbox anymore. I want to go surfing.
It's so cool. And even like at the end, I don't know if you heard him say it, he goes, well, I see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I said to Kel in the car, like that, my heart sort of sunk. I was like, I wish we could.
Yeah.
Like I wish he could just come hang out at my house for a few hours, and because he was so good today.
He was frothing. And these little things, and this is what I love about Whatability, and this is what I love about working with people in the disability sector. Like, we get to use guys like yourself, top in their field. Not only the best athletes, but like I said before, the best people. And that takes the stigma out of the disability sector, and it normalizes it. Like surfing today, we would have walked past however many hundreds of thousands of people with someone like you. You had all the nippers come up to you and want to take a photo, and you're out with a kid with a disability, and you've got all these people looking like, wow, if Ali Day could do that, I could do that. Or say if Ali Day could do that, that's cool and that's fun and that's normal, because there is a stigma around it, right?
Yeah, it's massive. And I'm still trying to, there's probably like a whole list of things of why I'm doing it. But that, again, I said to Kel in the car on the way home, I said, like the burley nippers were down there and they were getting photos of me, and that always feels good.
Yeah.
You know what it's like.
Yeah.
It's bloody an awesome feeling. But what feels even better is like hopefully they seen that I was with you and with the participant, and like I'm not trying to be the first person to show people in our sport that disabilities are normal and everyone should be treated equal and treated the same. But I sort of want to be, I guess, a leader in that space and show that not only for the other boys and girls in my surf club, but for the other professional Ironmen and Ironwomen in the series, that you can go out and do this. It's so rewarding, and we're just trying to break down that stigma of of disabilities. And I think, like you told me the stories about the Travojevic brothers, and I said that to Kel the other day as well. It's like, man, how cool is that? Like you've literally got the Travojevic family turning up to your house and taking your son out.
Yeah.
Like, where is that at? Like, and you told me about some of the AFL boys. I just think there's some bloody good people out there, and obviously, athletes they're just so influential in that space. And obviously being, like, I guess sort of well known here on the Gold Coast, I think it's a good thing, and I'm looking forward to, I think we haven't spoken about it, but getting on my first booking and just doing it on my own.
I can't wait for it. I honestly can't wait for it. And touching back on the Turbo brothers and the Essendon boys like Dyson Heppel, who are going through their onboarding process now and have actually been out on bookings, a lot of the times the participants might know these guys. Like a lot of the times they will look up to these guys. They might be really high functioning and they can read, write, talk, and they watch the screen and they can see you on the screen and then they can see you turn up at the door. But a lot of the times they have no idea who you are. They might sit on the more complex end where they can't read and they can't write and they can't talk, but they can go surfing at Crumbin or they can go to bounce or flip out and do all the little things that we got to do. But they love the energy that you guys bring. Like Angus Bell, who plays for the Wallabies, he's one of the best. Like he's been on board for, I don't know, a bit over a year now. He goes out with another participant. They've got a really great relationship. The participant who, I won't say his name, but non-verbal, doesn't know who Angus Bell is, but he can see this big rugby player and they'll go out surfing, they'll go to icebergs in Bondi, they'll get a coffee, and they've got such a beautiful relationship where, Angus knows what he likes, what he dislikes, what his triggers are, but what motivates him, like what are his goals, like what does he want to achieve, like does he want to be more comfortable in a public setting, or does he want to be able to order a coffee by himself or a drink or be able to cross the road, like these really little things that we get to do every day, but it can be a struggle for these participants at time. And a thing that stood out to me when we were doing the onboarding process, where you talk about how you want to inspire the other Iron men and women, but you talked about young Danny, your little bub, and you said, I'd love to be a role model for him. Yeah,
I mean, that's probably the biggest part, because I told you we stayed down in Manly the other week when I was racing, and they've got a house there, like this big set of units that they bring kids like when they're really, really sick to get the opportunity to go to the beach and things like that. And that's one thing Kel and I have, he's only 2, so he probably doesn't understand it, but it's one thing we want to drive home is be kind to people. But I mean, like everyone should have that equal opportunity. And I want to show him that giving back is super important. It's just something that my parents I've watched them do. My parents both have given up hours and hours, particularly my mum. She still works for Vinnie's and still goes out on calls and things like that. So, and she's really heavily involved with like her church and her community and things like that. So, I just think it's admirable when you see everyone doing it. And, this morning watching you with the participant, and even when we're over in Perth watching Steve and a couple of the Freo guys with the participants, it was like bloody inspiring. So
it's pretty cool.
That's sort of want to be, and I want Danny to be able to look at his dad and be like, yeah, I'm gonna do that as well. Mate,
that's so cool to hear, because I was gonna ask you, like, you've always had this really genuine, kind nature about you, and you've always looking to do things away from your sport. Like the last couple of years, like Movember, doing the chats, like when me and you were doing the chats the last couple of years, which were unreal. Yeah. You've always, you're a busy man. You got things going on. You got the active gym, you got the gentleman, you're training at a full-time level. You not only and I want to touch on your time management later on, but mate, you're a busy man. Like why? Like how did all this come about? Do you think you've always had this giving nature, or do you think that's come from your parents and watching them do what they do?
Yeah, I think it's like probably a combination of factors, mate. Obviously, mum and dad, watching them growing up in a small country town as well, like a lot of the people down there are very, very similar too. And just like the people that I've been blessed to have around, like coaches and you know, friends and people you meet along the way like yourself that sort of are on, you know, cut from that same sort of cloth. So I think it's just a combination of factors, mate, of how I've sort of like turned out the way I am. But obviously the biggest part is probably my parents and how they sort of reared my brother and my sister.
Yeah. Do you think it goes hand in hand with, I don't know, when I talk to Tommy and Tommy Turbo and a few of the boys who are at a really high level like yourself, who are the best athletes in their field, they love that they can step out of that bubble of professional sport and have a bit more perspective. Do you think that doing these things that are a bit selfless, that you can go and help other people, do you think that makes you a better athlete and a better performer? Or, because that was the thing, like you're 6-time Coolangatta Gold champ, right? You've won the last couple Ironman Series. But you're at the top 1% of your field. What do you think makes you the best, right? Like, how do you think that you can get there? Do you think stepping outside of it helps, or do you think it's just working hard? Because I really wanted to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, that's a really good question, mate, because I've almost done it, and I'm sure you've probably done it as well. Like you've either done it one way or the other, and the first way is just, you know, putting a blindfold on or blinkers on and just focusing purely just on Ironman. And being a professional sports person, it's a pretty selfish sort of thing. Most of the time your thought process is when you wake up, when you go to sleep. Every hour in between that is you're thinking about the training session, what you're putting in your mouth, what time you're going to bed, everything that's going to help you perform, to play footy, to do whatever you want to do. So I've definitely been over that side, but now I'm sort of transitioning. Like I think over the last couple of years, after having some time out of the sport with being injured and also becoming a dad and a business owner and that sort of stuff, I've started to realise that all these other things aren't necessarily distractions. They actually add to the journey, they add to your story, and they actually help you go out and race better on race day. So again, like I'm in a busy time of the year. It would have been easy to tell you today, hey Keegs, I'm tired from training this morning. I don't want to get out in the sun today. I've got training this Arvo. It's a really important week. I want to nail the week. I'm racing next weekend. But now I know how much this morning's actually going to give me. It's going to make me happier. And I believe like when I'm happy, I'm a better person and I'm a better athlete.
Do you get energy from it?
Yeah, 100%. You know what it's like. It's what I could have gained sitting at home today. You know, sitting in the aircon and watching a couple episodes and maybe doing a bit of work and stretching, and you're not going to get you're going to get so much more out of that connection that we had today with the participant.
Huge. And I think I loved obviously the happiness and that helps and it energizes you. But coming back to the sporting side of it, you got to work hard.
Yeah.
Like I remember listening to a chat a while ago and it stuck with me. It was something like you can't replace hard work. Like there's no substitute. There's no substitute for hard work. Yeah. Is that something you live by?
Yeah, it's like my favorite quote.
Yeah,
I got told it years ago, and there literally isn't. There's no shortcuts. There's all these little quotes, but that's the one that's always stuck by me. And there, you know, I didn't know you probably up until about 4 or 5 years ago, and I watched you on the field, and I always sort of gravitated towards a player that might not necessarily have been the most talented in the team, or they might have been, or you could just tell that they worked hard behind the scenes and they were passionate about it. And you were one that stood out through a mutual friend of Mitch Rain. Give you a shout out
Mitch Rain.
Yeah, I watched you, like I go to the Titans game, watch him, I'm like, man, this guy he's just given everything into it. And I love seeing that. And so that's sort of like what that's in my DNA. That's the way I've had to be. I definitely wasn't the most talented Ironman growing up. You know, I wasn't sort of like winning national titles at a young age. I was a bit of a late bloomer in our sport, but right. I'm actually really grateful that it happened that way. It's sort of shaped who I am, and you know, I'm grateful to sit here now and do things like this and be able to share my story.
It would have been pretty easy to quit back in the day when you weren't having the success, right? Like you were growing up, and imagine you're still training just as hard as a 17, 18, 19-year-old. Were there any times where you thought, you know what, fuck this.
Yeah,
I want to go surfing with my mates. Like,
yeah. Well, you can imagine I had like, you hit that age of 16, 17 and people were like, surf club, what are you doing that for? Clubbies, like, why aren't you coming to this party on the weekend? Why aren't you doing this? And you're training, I was training hard still then, but just wasn't getting the sort of results. And you know what it's like when you don't get picked in a team or you get that bit of adversity, it sort of hurts. So around that 15, 16, age group, I almost threw it in. Almost it was like, nah, I'd rather just go get an apprenticeship, surf with my mates, be able to go out with them. But I'm glad I stuck it out again. I'll mention those mentors that I had sort of around me at that time. And
is that what kept you on, the mentors? Kept you on track?
I think that. And I just had like a couple of like light bulb moments and a couple of moments that sort of that gave me, I guess that little bit of confidence, or gave me like that next step that I couldn't sort of like pull away. It was like, no, I've gotten a little bit further now. Yeah. Don't stop now. So there was a couple of those moments when I was about 17, 18, and then, sure enough, I qualified into the professional series at 19, almost qualified at 18 when I was in school, and then, got it the year after. So it happened like really, really quick.
Is it a compounding effect, time after time, year after year? Does it get easier as you get on, or is it always, now you've got people chasing you, you've got the young boys, you've got you back in the day when you were 18 biting on your heels because you've got the target on your back now, right?
Yeah, the target's big, and I mean it gets bigger and bigger every year because everyone just wants to beat me, which is so fine. And Shannon Eckstein was like my hero growing up, and arguably the greatest in our sport, and everyone wants to. I remember being 22, 23, racing him, just thinking he was God, no one can beat him, but you wanted to sort of take it to him. So it's that old sort of like, Michael Jordan quote, like pressure is a privilege and it's only going to last for a while. I'm 32 now, I'm starting to I'm at the back end of my career. So I want to make sure that those moments, I enjoy them, embrace them, because I know they're not going to be around forever. I'm sure. Like, I don't know, mate, do you miss that moment right before you go out and play?
I do miss it. I'd be silly if I said I didn't miss it. Of course I miss it.
It's a love-hate, isn't it?
It's a roller coaster, mate. It's a full roller coaster. But what you said just before about pressure being a privilege, like it's a privilege to be able to work hard. It's a privilege to be able to have that pressure, for having people to rely on you. Like, for the last 8-10 years of playing in the NRL, it's like, you can't let people down. You don't want to let people down. You've got so much external pressure, but you've also got that internal pressure to be like, okay, well, I don't want to let the guy on my inside down or my outside. I want to be the best I can be for them. I don't want to miss a tackle. I don't want to, throw a shit pass. I don't want to do that. And then, mate, when I retired a year ago, I was like, okay, well, what am I doing? Like, I don't have that pressure and the privilege of having other people rely on me. Like, I was fortunate enough to have a year break where I could figure out what I really wanted to do. And I got to fall in love with something that I absolutely love. And I had no idea that I would move into the disability sector or with what ability. I had no idea. And I love it. But before that, I didn't have anyone relying on me. I didn't have that. And I do miss that. And I did miss that. But now coming into what ability, like, I get to manage athletes across Australia. Yeah. And I get to give them the experience of what I fell in love with. And to see you out with the participant today, mate, it makes me feel so happy. Like, this is my purpose now.
It's almost better than before you run out and play.
Fully, hey? Mate, fully. Like, I love...
It's a different feeling, but it's like,
mate,
it's awesome.
I love rugby league and I love everything that it's given me, but mate, I'm not trading in what I'm doing now.
No way.
No way. No. I got athletes all around Australia, wanting to go out on bookings and having the best time. And so for them now they're relying on me to make, and I'm putting a bit more pressure on myself to make sure that they have a positive experience, which is really cool.
That's mad.
And it's really
love hearing that, eh? You can feel it when you talk about it, hey?
Well, you talk, like, it's just genuine and it's just authentic. And I think that's why we get along so well. And that's why you always, mate, you inspire me so much, just from the fact how genuine you are, how hardworking you are, and how it's almost like you're doing all this. You've got such an amazing legacy as being an Ironman, but you also want to have, like, the way from outside looking in, it's almost like you want to be a better person than you are Ironman.
Yeah, that's always been the thing. Mum and Dad have always said that. It's just a race at the end of the day. It's just a sport. Like, it's way more important to be that person. which can be hard sometimes after you have good or bad races. But you got to remember, you know, sort of what inspires you. And, you know, I remember, you know, being at the beach and or going to footy games, and, you know, you can tie it back to water ability as well, or whatever you want to do. But those heroes that you have in your life, or role models or idols, they play a massive part. You know, I remember rubbing shoulders with like Brad Fittler, you know.
Yeah, Freddie.
You know, and getting his autograph. And then Ian Thorpe and Grant Hackett and people like that. And it might be a sentence, it might be a photo, it might be, you know, it might be an autograph, but it leaves like a pretty big mark on you. So I've always got that in the back of my mind that, yeah, you don't know who's watching, but it's important to look after whoever's coming up to you. Make sure you always give them the time of day.
Well, mate, you definitely inspired me, and I think that your role when we were having all the Movember conversations over the last couple of years, that was almost the fire and the sort of, you know, spark to light this whole thing.
Yeah, it's so cool.
You know, we're fresh, and I'm not sure how it's going to look, but mate, for you to reach out and say, mate, do you mind jumping on a podcast? We're doing a Movember chat.
Yeah, mate, it was a lot. This is a lot better than the production.
The little phone.
I remember reaching out to you and being like, "Hey, mate, I'm friends with Rainey. Do you mind if we like catch up with you?" And Bart's my business partner. I was like, "No, he'd be heaps keen. He's a really lovely bloke." And I told you I met that lady at the dog park, and she was like, "Yeah, he's so nice. He's so nice." I like remember just like writing you a text and being like, "I hope he writes back." Eh? Turns out you did. I don't know if you just felt sorry for me or you're a good bloke.
Mate, I loved it. I loved all those chats that we had, and we've had some.
We had one at Currumbin that day.
Yeah.
And then we had that one down near your house. You're like in the, and it just, I loved I feel like we're just giving each other compliments this podcast.
But we're just pumping each other up.
Keep it going.
But this is why I love you. We just pump each other up.
But you gave me you just would always give us the time of day, and I was like, man, that's someone that, that I've got a lot of time for, and that's someone I want to be like.
Well, mate, likewise. And going forward, you know, you've probably on the back end of your career, you got a couple good years left. You're still at the top. What's the plan? Do you want to retire on the top? Do you want to go a couple years further? What's the plans going forward?
It's funny, hey, it's you know, you start to think about it a lot more now because it is coming to the end. So but at the same time, I'm just trying to focus on the present, like that, you know, that cliche process, one thing at a time. There's still a few things that I sort of want to achieve in the sport, and that's probably not result-wise. It's probably more of a feeling-wise sort of thing. Like with Danny there now, and hopefully a few more kids in the future, it'd be cool to rack up a few more race wins and then be there for that. So it's just that experience I want to give my family, like traveling around Australia and doing well in races is really cool. They're some of my favourite memories. So, mate, I'm not 100% sure of what I sort of want to go on to do. You know, whether it's some stuff with wattability, I feel like I'll always love doing that. I love, obviously, the gyms and health and fitness. But just, I mean, that I guess that passion and belief of just wanting to help people would be a pretty good, I don't know what that looks like or what that means. But, yeah, I'll definitely do a couple more years of racing and then, yeah, hang up the togs or the paddle, mate. And,
helping people, it looks like that's at the heart. Like that's a core value of you, and you can see that in active as well. Like active, mate, it's pumping. It's growing. You're opening, you know.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I should give like Bart's and Luke, both my business partners. They've given me so much breathing space since it started, and they've allowed me to sort of go out and chase what I've wanted to chase, and they sort of pull me in every now and then. But, I've got two great guys to look up to, both amazing role models that sort of like are setting that up for me in the background. So it's pretty cool.
And it looks like you've built such a great community there as well. You know, you're at the core, you're helping people. You know, people want to get fit and they want to feel better, and that helps their mental health and it helps their physical health. It helps everything. But having that core community, is that something that you thought was just going to happen naturally, or was it something that you guys put a lot of effort into?
No, it's something, it's funny. Like, I think when we first opened the doors, I thought, how good's this? I'm just going to get paid. This is bad. So we did a lot of hard work, and I was shocked, obviously. Sorry, that didn't happen straight away. It took a long time. But Bart's is incredible. You know, just know him just as well as I do of how much he gives back, and it would take the shirt off his own back and give it to someone, sort of thing. He's incredible. Yeah. You know, he's got a great story, and he came from not much either. He had a pretty like sort of tough upbringing. So to see where he is now, but to continue to give back is he's bloody cool. But he came from obviously that rugby league background. That's how you guys know each other. And obviously I came from my background. And we always thought, like when we first started talking, it was like when I'd go to the surf club or when he went to footy training in the afternoon, the best part about going to training in the afternoon is being around your mates.
Course
of the morning. You know, you had a purpose. You went there, people checked in on you. You went for dinner, you went for breakfast, whatever it might be. You're doing the same in footy as well. And we wanted to create a safe space where people could come, get to know one another, and along the journey, learn about health and fitness.
Sick.
So the first thing was just like create a space where people felt like they were a part of something.
And that tied into the budgie run.
That tied into the budgie run.
You guys do every November. Everyone, all the boys get in their budgies, do a couple runs up the hill.
Yeah.
And girls as well.
Girls as well. Yeah, Bart's has been obviously the mastermind behind that. I think, you know, like we literally pulled an iPhone out 4 years ago and I filmed both of us down at Talabudra, and then I would just tell him each day, hey mate, who do you want to interview? And he'd be like, let's get this person. So we got you. And so we did 30 chats, and then halfway through one of the chats really early on, Bart said, I'll run up Burleigh Headland with my budgies or something.
Is that how it started?
Yeah, it was something like that. And now it's turned into obviously an annual event. Lululemon have gotten behind it. I know that, you know, that he's hoping to grow it over the years, but just it's so cool to see guys and girls, kids, mums, dads, whoever going up and running it, because that's obviously another, like we are, that's how we met. It's another like, you know, passion really close to my heart with the mental health and things like that.
How does it get bigger? You've got hundreds of people running up this hill. There's no room to get any bigger.
I think parts as he said before, and I should mention Matty Palmer as well. He's
one of the greats.
Yeah, he also has played a really big hand and played a really big part in it. But I think the boys are suggesting potentially, and I have no idea, but going from state to state and doing one and making them mate. Like that. So no, it's cool that the amount of support that we get. I honestly thought that first time we did it, 0 people would turn up and it'd just be me and Bart, and maybe you running up the hill. But it was cool, mate. I mean, those Movember chats, if you look back, we interviewed everyone from, you know, yourself and Mick Fanning, who were, you know, at the top of their game.
I wouldn't put us on the same pedestal, but thank you, mate.
2 really good blokes. And I'm sitting there interviewing you and interviewing Mick going, shit, like, is the camera on? Have we got this sort of thing? And then you're interviewing, you know, a guy called Shane Leahy at the gym that's 50 years old and a dad, and it's just a everyday Joe Blow. But everyone's got... Yeah, it's funny when you sit down with someone and talk, everyone's got something to give and everyone's got that story, and particularly around men's mental health as well, which is the reason why we did it. And
I love that you guys are shining a light on it, and you continue to shine a light on it because it's changing. Like the last 5-10 years from when you guys started, even now, there's so many more mental health conversations coming up. There's more podcasts being started. People are jumping on board. And it doesn't just have to be with Movember. It can be it's all year round, right? Like, can you see it changing?
Yeah, 100%. You can see, like, you know, you can see the Salt Social starting and things like that. There's so many little groups that you see out there doing things in the wider community that you go, how good's that?
Sick.
There's a tick. Oh, how good's that? They're out exercising as a group. You know, we just spoke about some of the other blokes off air that go down and swim at Talabudra. That's their thing they do together. Some guys go to the gym together. Like, it's inbuilt in us. It's just sometimes you need that little connection somewhere where you can feel comfortable enough to do it. And Active's definitely been a big driver, I reckon, in hopefully helping people in that space.
It's all about community, and that's what I see at the Salt Social. It's what I see with you guys at Active 440 in Sydney. Like, there's so many great concepts where at the end of the day, yes, we're running or we might be working out, or we just have the community. Like, the community is so huge. Being able to check in with a mate and have that accountability. Like, there's a bunch of old boys that train at Palm Beach Currumbin at the school there. Yeah. And there's this big guy there, and he's like, mate, I haven't missed a day. Yeah. He's like, I couldn't get down off the floor and get back up. He's a big boy, and he's an absolute legend. And they've got and they've started introducing a couple of the young boys in there.
So cool.
Kane LG gets down there, Jai Dean, the bro behind the camera. Yeah. Mate, there's some good crew there, and they just do it, and then they go for a swim, they go get a coffee afterwards, and it's just a time to check in and make sure how everyone's going.
It's pretty awesome, hey? It's like that connection, isn't it? Like, every day. Like, because I had literally one of my best mates fly up for Rainey's wedding, actually. Yeah. Picked him up from the airport. We were driving from, like, Cabarita up to Mermaid, and it's like the first time we'd, like spoke about the stresses ever.
Wow.
You know, we're 32, both of us. have been best mates forever. We're sitting in the car, and you know how sometimes you'd be like, hey, mate, how you going? Yeah, brush over it, and you just start talking about whatever it might be. But actually, that was the first time that we were both like, I was like, mate, I don't know, I didn't say, mate, how are you actually doing? But how is school? How he's a teacher? He wouldn't mind me saying. He was like, oh, this, and this. And I was telling him about some of the problems I was sort of having. But for best mates, it took us that long. We'd always be open and honest with one another. But it was just one of those conversations I remember. And as soon as you break down something with someone like that, it's like the coast is clear. And from the next time onwards, it's like, oh, I can talk openly to this guy. Because most of the time I'm thinking, he doesn't want to hear about my crap. Yeah. You know, I still think like that. Right. Sure, we all do.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
It is cool. And it does. And it's just, it doesn't have to be a big conversation.
No.
It's just a matter of saying, mate, how are you? What's happening? They might brush over it. But it's like, mate, or even just pick up the phone and be like, mate, like, what's happening? Just checking in. I had a mate, he was going through a pretty messy breakup with his partner, and he has got a bunch of stuff going on. And I just called him out of the blue. I was like, mate, I love you. What's going on? He's just like, fuck, is that, man, I wasn't expecting this call. Like, mate, I'm actually really struggling. And then he messaged me after. He left it for a day, and then he messaged me the next day. He's like, mate, I really needed that. Like, thank you so much. And it's just like, fuck, man, it's so easy just to check in. And having all that community, it all just ties back in.
100%.
So for anyone like that, I think that if you can't see the other side of the hill, or if you are struggling, like, just find a mate or a friend, or just check in, because when you are vulnerable with your own vulnerabilities, and when you can talk about yourself, it almost makes it okay for other people to talk about it as well.
100%. And then the other side of it is, like, I've got that a rule where if I think of you or I think of someone, just send them a text.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
You might feeling really good. I just flick them a text. Oh, I'm thinking of this person. I'm going to send them a text. Just be like, hey, mate, thinking of you. Hope you're going well. How's things? Sort of thing.
I remember you saying, I don't know how we got onto the conversation, but Elle from Shore Partners, one of the greats, he was saying during COVID, he had this thought or this process where he would message like 5 people that came to mind.
Yeah, he's like literally one of the, he's someone I look up to in so many different ways. Like, he's been ultra successful. But yeah, like, I remember during COVID, he'd give me like a call a couple of times a week. He'd know hundreds of people.
How insane.
Yeah, and he's on the phone for work all the time. Yeah. So like, he's got a family, he's running a business, he's sponsoring Manly, sponsoring everything, you know what I mean?
Sponsoring
He does some amazing things. But I remember someone telling me that he had a list of people that he would just check in on every single day. And I was like, holy shit, this guy's like, if he's finding the time to do it, then anyone can sort of do it. And I think it's, super inspirational that a guy like that can, it just goes to show the type of person he is.
And that, it's a full circle. And mate, just on time management, how the fuck do you do it? Mate, you train twice a day. You're running multiple businesses. You come on board and spend the day with me today and jump on a podcast. How do you manage your time, like, from a practical point of view for me, like, and for everyone else?
Yeah.
Like, what are the practical steps? Are you writing it down on a Sunday evening? Like, what does it look like?
There's a couple of things I should. Again, like with active and stuff like that, I don't do anything with that at the moment. My wife does a lot of it, a lot of the social media, the marketing. Bart's and Luke, they're in charge. So like, I actually don't have a role there at the moment. I have in the past, like, with taking classes and doing some marketing here and there. So I've got to take myself out of that. I do a little bit for the gentleman, also not that much. So purely this year, like, I had a few goals, and one was obviously to be a really good Ironman, but my other ones was to be a really good husband and also be a really good dad. So the decisions I make, like coming on today, going to, our booking today, I base them around now, like, what's going to give me energy. So there's some things I do say no to, obviously, but then there's most of the time, if it's something that I know is going to help a mate or help someone or help me, I'm going to do it. So look, I'm an old school person. I bought a new diary yesterday. I still write down everything like that in it. I know what my training roughly looks like on a Sunday afternoon. I know what my month sort of looks like. We've got a big planner at home, but I just try stay in that structure sort of thing. When I don't have structure, I don't know how you go now, mate.
Same.
Like as an athlete, it's get up this time, eat this, go here, do that, race. Like your year's almost like set out, isn't it?
Mate,
Like,
fully.
so I'm a big fan. I love breaking out of it when I'm on holidays and not having to just step away and relax. But as I said, I'm an old school person. I like the diary. I use the phone a little bit and just pick and choose the things I need to do that are servicing my goals.
What do you do when it gets too much? Like, is it saying no? Because you obviously, you train, mate. I know you might not be hands-on in the other businesses, but mate, just being a professional athlete and training at the level you do, having the energy to be able to train all day and then come home and be a good dad and be a good partner, and it's hard. Like, what do you do when it becomes too much?
Oh, I've definitely, like, and Kel can 100% speak in this. There's definitely been times where I've lost it. Like, I've thrown a phone, or I've screamed, or kicked a soccer ball the other week really hard against the wall.
Hope it didn't hit Danny.
No, I didn't hit Danny. But, like, I've definitely had moments where it's got to that. I'm really aware of, like, I need to be better at before it gets to that. I don't know, not everyone's like that. Everyone can sort of catch it at different times, but I'm working on getting better at letting that before that stuff builds up. But again, I've got great advisors around me. I've got Kel. I use her as a sounding board. Lay in bed at night, and I was chewing her ear off last night. She must be thinking, what the hell have I signed up for 10 years later? So her, my coach Zane, I've got Bart. So, I've got a whole group of people. Oh, no, not a whole group of people. I've got a really small team of people that I can talk to and say, hey, what do you think about this? Is this a smart idea? Should we be traveling here? Should I be doing this? And it all comes back to, I guess, servicing the goals that I have. Sick. And it's the Ironman, it's the dad, and it's the husband, and it's the husband and dad. That's the first thing, So as soon as I turn up on the driveway at home, it's it's trying to just stop for a moment and be like, okay, I'm going in there. I've finished my session. Let's go back in and be the best dad I can be and be the best husband I can be. And then tomorrow when the alarm goes off, I'll compartmentalize and jump in the pool, and the 90 minutes of training is my time, and that's when I'll get after it.
Mate, I love that you got your priorities set with family, with training. How's recovery? You sleeping?
Yeah, plenty of that. I used to get really worried, Keegs, about what people would think if I said no or said yes. Yeah. And that's something I'm getting a lot more comfortable with. Just being like, no, I'm going to actually say no, and I'm not going to worry about what they might think. Not in a bad way. Don't mean like, nah, F you, I'm not doing that. I don't have time for it.
I got a bit on.
Yeah, it's okay to say that. This is important to me. So, sleep's good. Like again, Kel is amazing with our son, Danny. She does, all mums do that. They're just incredible. It's inbuilt in them. But, I make sure I'm there at those key moments. I love being there for like bath and shower time of a night time. I love being in the room before he goes to bed at night. I love giving him a kiss and a cuddle and just things like that time goes so freaking quick. It goes, and I want to make sure that I'm there for those moments of even just like, like I might be on my phone and he's going, Dad, 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 or he's yelling, I'm washing my ski out the front. He's yelling, Dad, Dad. And I'm like, no, I've got to finish this task. I try stop what I'm doing and go to him if I can. Yeah. Most of the time. But there's a podcast out at the moment with Hamish Blake, and it's called How Other Dads Dad. Yeah. And a mate of mine sent it to me. I've been listening to that, and it's sort of like helped a lot, listening to what other dads do. Your dad looks like a champion. We're riding his board this morning, so I'm sure he's passed a lot on to you, mate, for when that time comes.
We took the big hippo board out today. My mum made that for him when he must have been 40. Must have been his 40th birthday.
So cool.
And it's so cool. And mate, I still ride it. Like whenever there's a little wave getting through, like I'll always take it out because it's so fun. It's waterlogged.
And it's special,
It's special, yeah.
There's that thing there that your mum got it for him.
Yeah.
And now you're using it. And I want to have traditions like that in our family.
How old's Danny?
He's 2. Mate. So it's cool. Like, when we had him and I'd won the series that year, and he was tiny, and then the following year, like last year, he was sort of asleep at most races. During the Gold, I ran past him and he sort of was like, just sort of like looked up, but he's getting more and more aware every day. And I didn't win a race down it a few weeks ago, and I'm desperate to win one. Yeah. Not only because of the feeling of winning, but I want to get him up on like the podium.
That'd be
sick. I want to do things like that with him that that we have. Not saying that he needs to go and do that, but that's something it's special to me.
Do you reckon he'll go down the life-saving route?
Maybe.
Or are you going to try, because you did AFL, you did Union, NRL, you tried everything. Or it's just a matter of putting him out there and saying, mate, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, my dad was like rugby.
Yeah.
You know, he was huge. He played like over, a couple hundred games, and he still loves that. That's still like his bread and butter.
Yeah.
But look at the size of me, mate. I was never going to be...
Mate, you could be a little halfback.
Maybe.
I saw you running out there today.
Growing up with Mitch Rain across the road from your house, he was spear tackler. It was me and my best mate against him. So that just goes to show like what it takes to play NRL. That's how good you could just tell that. And I'm sure you were the same. Like anyone that's playing in the NRL are freaks. They honestly are. Like Rainey was 15. He was like, my brother was 4 years older than us, and he had a big mate of his that would come around and was good at rugby. And I remember Rainey like spear tackling him on my lawn.
He's so competitive.
Yeah,
I'm sure you're the same, but he is one of the most competitive guys that I've been with.
Without him knowing, he's helped me heaps, and so is Steve-O, my other best mate. And but yeah, mate, it's I guess like being an Ironman was, it wasn't something that I was like, I want to be the best at it. It was just it's just what sort of came a bit more naturally compared to the other sports.
Sick. Mate, I could talk about that all day, but I want to say thank you for the whoop.
Yes.
For the gift. Mate, this is going to be one of the coolest gifts that
mate.
I've received. Mate, I listened to the podcast with the founder on the Diary of a CEO, and I remember talking to you about it a while ago. And mate, it's so important. But mate, can you tell me just a little bit about it? It's a sleep tracker, right? What are we looking at? Is it just measuring sleep, my REM sleep, light sleep? Like what are you? Because you've wear one for a little while now.
It pretty much does everything. So I've worn one for a few years now. You come back to the point of I'm always looking, I guess, just to get that extra 1% or extra 0.5% or whatever it might be. And I'd listened to a couple of podcasts. I've seen a couple other athletes in America sort of wearing them. So I ordered one. And then with my management a couple of years ago, at the start of the season, they were like, who's someone that you'd like to be partnered with? And I said Whoop. And there was no way that, I'd never think that, this would sort of happen.
They're a huge American brand, right?
Yeah, they're massive. And I thought, geez, they're not going to want to sponsor someone like me. I think I had some pretty other funny sponsors that I won't mention on there. Calvin Klein haven't picked up the phone yet. No, they haven't.
Bonds, Calvin's up.
I wrote Bonds, still no Bonds. So if anyone's listening out there, I'll happily take that down. But take that on, sorry. But yeah, Whoop, the reason I got one, obviously, was because I wanted to track my HRV. My sleep is a big one as well. Obviously, my heart rate during the day, during competition. And then also, I mean, as I said, like Whoop, we could do a whole podcast on what Whoop can do, but it gives you a recovery score each day. It gives you a sleep, it's tracking your sleep, how many hours you might need. It's got a sleep coach on there. It's got a journal on there. So after each morning you wake up, it might ask you like what time you went to bed, what'd you do this, did you drink magnesium, did you wear blue blocking glasses?
It goes
in
that depth.
It goes in that depth, and then at the end of each month, it sends you like a really detailed sort of journal of what went well for your month and what didn't, the trends that worked. And it's just a way that it keeps me really accountable every time I look down at my wrist. You don't have to do anything. It's literally picking up my session today or pick up my session this afternoon.
So you can wear it where you train.
Yeah. So like if you can see now, like I've just got the normal band on, but I'll put like a hydro sleeve over the top of it. Like it's a plastic rubber sleeve that I'll put over it and wear. And I wore it for the first time in competition this year in the Coolangatta Gold. So it's cool to see that data, right? Like, not many people in our sport have ever sort of had that. We've had Telstra trackers in our vests before, which track speed, but this is tracking heart rate. It's tracking, ultimately pretty much everything. So I've loved it, and I'm super excited to see them like sort of come into Australia a lot more.
Mate, so if you've got a big session or a big day coming up, will you just look at your phone and say, hey, I might need an extra hour of sleep, or I might need to have a bit more magnesium? Like, are you constantly checking your phone on how best to recover? Like, what does that look like practically?
Yeah, I got actually a mate of mine help. A mate of mine too, Camilla, he's the Gold Coast Suns captain, and he sort of like gave me some really good advice a few years ago, and it was like, you obviously can't read into it too much.
Yeah.
You might race and you might look at your phone and be like, shit, my recovery's 56% out of 100.
Yeah.
The race is still going to go on.
Exactly.
It's still going to happen.
Yeah.
You're still going to go out and play, whatever you might have to do. So he gave me that suggestion of looking at it like not so closely, but maybe looking at it like at the end of the week and just seeing your trends. And I think with that, and as I said, at the end of each month, they send you a pretty detailed document of like what worked well, what didn't. And now after doing it for a few years, I just know what works. Pre, post, if it's hot outside, what I've got to do, if I didn't get as many hours sleep as the night before, I know what I need to do. If I've raced, if I've traveled, if I'm injured, if I'm sick, it picks up your temperature. It can give you warning signs of when your heart rate and your body temperature is elevated. So that might be a smart decision to pull back on training, pull the reins back. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's there for that, that accountability. And, I think it's a pretty cool little device if you're wanting to better yourself. It's so individualized as well. Like, mine and your HRV and our scores are going to be different because we're different athletes, different people, and you can't compare. But what you can compare is of what your best days are, and that's what I'm trying to shoot for every day.
Mate, that's sick. Thank you so much. Mate, we've hit 50 minutes.
Jesus, that went quick. Is that serious?
We're 50 minutes in. But, mate, thank you so much for jumping on the pod. Mate, I can't thank you enough. Not just for jumping off the pod, but for inspiring everyone in your inner community and in the external community. So thanks for jumping on, brother. I love you.